Hi everyone, yasas, que kanos feta to another episode of Dimitra's Dishes. Today I'm going to teach you how to make lamb kapamas, which is the Greek version of a delicious, rich Sunday sauce that you can serve over pasta, with bread, over rice. It's just so good and so comforting and really easy to make. It all comes together in one pot. Let's get started. So we're going to begin with 2.5 to 3 pounds of lamb. I like to use lamb shanks because they have a lot of bone marrow and a lot of collagen, and it just makes such a delicious sauce. These lamb shanks have been cut up, that's why they're a little smaller, but you can use whole lamb shanks too. They're just easier to brown and easier to fit in the pot this way. So these are ready. They've just been washed and patted dry. Now I'm just going to roughly chop these 2 red onions. You can definitely use yellow onions if that's all you have. I have 6 garlic cloves. You could use between 6 to 8. I'm just going to smash them to remove the skin, and I'm just going to leave them just the way they are. This way they're going to cook really nice and they're going to be nice and sweet. I don't like to grate them for this sauce. So I have a big pot that's heating over medium-high heat. I'm going to add some olive oil to it. And since all of my lamb shanks fit in here, I'm going to put them in all together and brown them between 6 to 8 minutes per side. Then I'm just going to transfer them to a dish. I didn't add any salt and pepper to them. Next, I'm going to add the onions and the smashed garlic to the pot, and I'm going to reduce the heat to a low. I'm actually going to turn the heat off for a little bit so the onions don't brown too fast. There's still going to be lots of heat in there. And then after a minute or so, I'll just turn the heat back on, and I'll let these cook for between 10 to 13 minutes or until they're nice and soft and golden. Now I'll add 2 to 3 tablespoons of tomato paste, and I'm going to cook it down so it can get a little sweeter. Tomato paste does tend to be bitter, so we're going to add some honey to it too. So I'm going to add a tablespoon of honey in a little bit, but first I'll add all the spices. I have 1 cinnamon stick, 2 bay leaves. These are small and kind of crushed bay leaves, so I did about 3. 2 to 3 whole cloves and 5 to 6 allspice berries. I also have a heaping teaspoon of dried oregano. Keep in mind that oregano does tend to add a tiny bit of bitterness, so you can either add it in right now or at the very end. I like to add it in right now because it does mellow out the lamb flavor, so I'll leave that up to you. I also have some crushed red pepper flakes in here. You could add as much or as little as you like. Next, I'm going to add a tablespoon of honey to this, and the lamb is going back into the pot with 2 28-ounce cans of crushed tomatoes. I'm also going to rinse it out with a little bit of water. We just need all of the meat to be completely submerged in the tomato sauce. I'm going to season it with some salt and freshly cracked black pepper. And this mixture is just going to come to a boil. Once it starts bubbling, just reduce the heat to a medium-low so it can simmer. Actually, lower is better. Put the lid back on the pot, and this is going to simmer for as long as it takes for the meat to be falling off the bone and the sauce to be nice and thick. So my lamb cooked in 3 hours, but I would even take it up to 4 hours if I really had more time to record this video. So you should just cook this really low and slow. The meat, especially if you're using lamb shanks, will not dry out. You want it to really be falling off the bone. You want the tomatoes to get nice and thick and sweet and hearty and delicious. I'm using lamb shanks today like I showed you, but you can use beef shoulder for this as well instead of the lamb. You can make it with chicken too. I do have a recipe on that. Check it out because the timing is different than this. You don't want to cook it that long, but definitely check that video out. It tastes so good over pasta. I cook this over the stove in my Dutch oven, but this can totally be made in a slow cooker. If you have an Instant Pot, you can use the slow cooker setting to do this in the Instant Pot as well. I would not use a pressure cooker setting. You won't get the same flavor out of it. It will definitely cook much quicker, but the result will not be the same. So I've tried it and it doesn't work. You want this to cook really nice and low and slow. It takes a long time, but really the preparation is so quick and easy. It's totally worth it. I would serve this, like I said, either over pasta. I love to serve this with some toasted bread like I'm doing today. A nice Greek salad, maybe some rice. It's so good. It's great because you can really put it over anything. If you're eating low carb, even cauliflower rice is delicious with this because there's so much flavor in that sauce. Time for the taste test. Something that I love to do when I'm making rich sauces, whether they're cream-based or tomato-based like this, is to squeeze some lemon juice over them. Of course, I did put freshly chopped parsley once it was done. If you have a gremolata in the fridge, which is basically parsley, garlic, and lemon zest, that would just brighten this up and make it so fresh and just add another layer of flavor. but I love to squeeze lemon juice on top. Balsamic vinegar is also delicious on top of it. The acidity with the sweetness and the meat, it just goes so well together, so give it a try. I like to go in with my hands for this one, but if you see, I did shred it with a fork and the meat just melts. My goodness. So good. This is reminding me, and it's actually giving me a really good idea. When I lived in New York on Steinway Street, there was an Italian restaurant that would make the best Parmesan sandwiches in bread, either with veal or chicken. The sauce was so rich and good. I feel like this would make an amazing sandwich. You could put some cheese on there, maybe garlic bread. More ideas. I think I'll put them all in my post. This sauce freezes well, so I do recommend that you make extra so you could have it on hand for those days when you don't have time to cook. One thing that I forgot to mention was I did go in and pick out all of the spices, or as many of them as I can find. I took out that cinnamon stick, the bay leaves, and a few whatever cloves I could find. I didn't really worry about them too much, and those little allspice berries. I did take them out. If you can, do that. If not, that's totally fine. Your family can just pick it off of their plate. You will be able to see them because the sauce is super thick. If you're not a big fan of cinnamon, I know my kids aren't, but it does taste so good in this, you can leave it out. Thank you guys so much for spending time with me today. If you want to make this recipe, go on over to the website to print it out, dimitrasdishes.com. If you want to learn how to make delicious country-style Greek bread to serve with this, click over here and I'll see you right over there. Yes, us.